Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is day 14 of the January Leetcode Day Challenge. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join me on Discord. Let me know what you think about today's poem. I'm not going to do the premium or an extra premium poem today because we have a contest later. If you're doing that, good luck. I think it's an hour actually. Wow, I should probably hustle a little bit, make sure I have enough time. But before I get started today, on one of my YouTubes, um, I got a comment from one of my oldies, which people appreciated. So I'm gonna bring it back a little bit because I think it's been like 2 years since I did this, or did this particular one. So feel free to skip forward to I don't know the actual problem solving if you're just looking for that. But basically, the setup, the context is that I think this is a couple of years ago. I actually don't remember the exact date, but basically Amazon was doing an earnings report, and in the earnings report, it's usually very dry, very boring. I mean, I don't know about Amazon actually. I don't usually watch Amazon earnings reports, but this was kind of brought up to me, and I thought it kind of very resonated with what we're trying to do here, right? I think we're trying to get better at Leetcode, and the number one thing that people do ask me, well, I always say that about a lot of things, but it's just about like what's the best way, what's the best time, how to pace yourself and stuff like this, right? And I think for this here, and every time it kind of reminds me of this perfect handstand story, and it kind of reminds me also about how I think about just life in general, though sometimes less successful than others. But yeah, I'm going to read this very quickly, and again, you can fast forward if this is not what you're interested in, but you know, uh, today's problem seems pretty okay anyway, so we should be okay. But yeah, and I'm going to read to you perfect handstands, and I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but we'll go over it. But yeah, this is here under perfect handstands. You could actually read the rest of this as well. You could Google probably Amazon perfect handstands or Jeff Bezos or something like this, and it'll probably show up. But yeah, all right, let's get started. A close friend, pretend I'm Jeff Bezos. I don't know how he talks, so use your best imagination. A close friend recently decided to learn to do a perfect freestanding handstand, no leaning against a wall. Not for just a few seconds, Instagram good. She decided to start her journey by taking a handstand workshop at her yoga studio. She then practiced for a while but wasn't getting the results she wanted, so she hired a handstand coach. Yes, I know what you're thinking, but evidently this is an actual thing that exists. In the very first lesson, the coach gave her some wonderful advice. Most people, he said, think that if they work hard, they should be able to master handstand in about 2 weeks. The reality is that it takes about 6 months of daily practice. If you think you should be able to do it in 2 weeks, you're going to just end up quitting. Unrealistic beliefs on scope, often hidden and undiscussed, kill high standards. To achieve high standards yourself or as part of a team, you need to form and proactively communicate realistic beliefs about how hard something is going to be. Something that this coach understood well. And tying back to Leetcode, I mean, this is obviously more of a business thing, but tying back to Leetcode, I think the Leetcode parallels are pretty reasonable. I think going back a second, my current, it's the beginning of the year, it's January. I'm trying to figure out my fitness goal as well. And when I was younger, I was always trying to compare myself to other people, especially with respect to fitness, and trying to have these goals. But at the end of the day, you just have to be realistic about it. And especially when it comes to fitness, things are measured in years and not days or months or weeks or whatever, right? So yeah, so for example, I think I think I don't know if I'm set on this yet, so don't hold me to it. But I think I'm setting my squat goals to about 360 pounds. I don't know how much that is in kilograms, or someone put a comment. And a stretch goal of maybe 400. I was at about 330 last year, but I also took 6 months of traveling, so I probably could have gotten a little bit more, but that's fine. Sometimes in life you have to figure out what you want and balance it, right? But yeah, tying back to Leetcode, very often I get a question about how long have I been doing it? How am I so good? Not to humble brag about it. I mean, you're here, so hopefully you think I'm at least a little bit good. Otherwise, I'm just wasting your time. And the short story is that I don't really count these things because it's across so many years that it's not even worth, like, I don't know how to aggregate them, right? But just to give you an honest example, I've probably solved about 10,000 unique problems, right? And this one, for example, I guess I've solved already, but yeah, so I've solved about 10,000 problems over decades. So, I took some gap, in training, if you want to call it that, over the years. But as it is often, the first time you solve it is the hardest, right? So after you get your reps in, things get easier. And then the other thing I want to say is that what was the other thing I wanted to say? Huh. Man, I had it in my head and then I just kind of it just slipped. But oh yeah, streaks. I think one thing that a lot of people put um, emphasis on are streaks, and really, I mean, okay, you can't actually see it because I think my face is covering it. But I have a 1383-day streak, which is actually kind of ridiculous now that I think about it. It's going to be almost 4 years of streaks, but don't let that be discouragement, right? Because some people may like, because yeah, some people may take it as encouragement, like, oh look, if Larry could do it, I could do it, which is fine. I hope you do. But some people may also look at it and be like, oh man, I can never be, I can never have that kind of commitment. But I would say the first thing is that even before the streak, I've done thousands of problems. I don't know how many. Again, I don't really, it's not a scoreboard. I just don't count it, and a lot of them are, not that whatever anyway. But my point is that, for me, and you see this a lot in my videos, sometimes less true than others, but and I do try to add explanations to these things despite some of my commentaries or some of the commentary on my commentary. But I'm able to solve most of these, say, 5 to 10 minutes, right? If can I put in 5 to 10 minutes a day? Sure, and apparently I have, right? But for you, and maybe not all of you, obviously, it depends on who's watching this. But for the beginners who might, if this is your first day, if this is your day one, or maybe day 13, or 14, or whatever it is, of January, you may take more time. And that's okay, that's fine, right? Obviously, I'm going to encourage you to say, in the beginning, if you haven't done these before, these are all going to look fresh. You have to parse it in your head and all these other things, right? So these are all kind of new and all these things. But as a result, to be honest, I feel like the streaks are kind of, almost like it works against you, right? Because hey, you look at all these, already, like, people who have already done it with their streaks, and it's kind of like meaningless. Because like for me, like I don't know, if I lose the streak, I don't really, it is what it is. It doesn't prove anything to me, right? But on the other hand, if let's say you have, this one's a medium, so maybe it's not a good example, but let's say there's a hard one, you can't get it in one day, or maybe you just spend like 3 hours on it. How can you spend 3 hours every day for 1,000 days or whatever, right? That's just a little bit silly, even for me. Like, I don't think I could do it, to be frank. So definitely don't compare your streak with others, and don't even care about streaks. Like, focus on learning, focus on getting into reps, putting into hours, and you don't always have to solve these problems. I mean, like maybe a problem requires, say, for you to understand and solve, like, takes 8 hours. Well, look, it's okay if you don't get it in one day. It's okay if you don't get it in 2 days. Maybe it'll take a while, right? I mean, in the beginning, it's a little bit tricky, especially if you don't have to computer science, the fundamentals background, because you don't know what you don't know. So it's a little bit tricky to be like, to solve a problem that you don't know what you don't know, right? And this is the case for me too. Like, for example, there's a couple of things around, like, the Z algorithm for, like, is it palindrome? Z algorithm, I think it's for palindrome, but maybe I don't even know anymore, all right? Because I still refuse to learn it. But like, I didn't know that algorithm, so I'm not going to be able to solve things that require that algorithm, right? It is what it is. So for you, definitely in the beginning, and I recommend the Discord for this reason, is just to kind of, just like be able, just having a place, having a buddies, if you will, to be like, hey, does this algorithm or this problem require any special algorithm that I might not know? Just so that you can kind of push as hard as you can up to it, right? For me, in theory, like, I probably know most algorithms, I just don't know how to solve it. So and you see this on the contest videos from time to time that I put out, and I put them out because I want to be, honest with you guys, and that, like, sometimes it does take 2-3 hours, even for me, to really figure out and understand, or even when I look at a solution, to kind of really understand it, right? To the point where I can reproduce it, not just like, oh yeah, I understand it, and then like forget it the next day. We've all done that before, and me maybe a lot too. But I'm trying to be like, okay, I understand it, and I can code it the next day, in a week or a month or whatever, right? So that's how I would like to learn. So yeah, those are kind of the things. And like I said, streaks don't really, don't worry about it that much. Doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is you're getting incrementally better than you were yesterday, as they say. Yeah, I mean, my goal with these videos, and I get this a lot about why I don't just, and I think one of the things that I really, not that I don't blame people for looking for them or even going for those videos, but I feel like, I got this, I was watching a lot of physical chemistry videos the other day, just because I was learning a lot about nutrition, and I went down a rabbit hole. And honestly, yeah, but that's the thing, right? When I kind of listen to someone just explaining it to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I understand this. But then, like, the question isn't whether you understand it in the moment, right? Like, especially with what you want to do with interviews or maybe competitive programming, it's about whether you can actually do, right? It's not about whether you understand, it's can you do. And I think that's the part that I don't like about programming videos, and stuff like this. Not, I mean, sometimes, like, depends on the type of things, but some of them I don't like in my way, is that I think, like, if I were to produce a perfect video, if you will, then, like, everyone looks smart when they're able to edit out all their mistakes, but that is precisely why I don't want to edit out anything, for the most part. I mean, sometimes I leave passwords on the screen, so I edit those out. So, but I don't really edit out anything, so that you can kind of see how someone, quote unquote, professional, and someone with experience both in software engineering and competitive and Leetcode, what is the actual thing, and what is considered, quote unquote, good, right? And even the good people have bad days, which you can see a lot on the contests. So yeah, so I want to show, like, a realistic view. And sometimes I am a little bit fast, but that's because I've done it, like I said, thousands or 10,000s of times. All right, this is a very long intro. If you're still here, leave a comment. Tell me about your favorite handstand stories. But we'll actually start the video now, I suppose. Okay, I mean, the actual problem solving. Hope that's okay. If you let me know in the comments. Also, just like whether you like what I'm. Not that you like what I'm saying. You don't have to like it, but whether you're listening or agreeing, disagreeing, all these things. I'm always also curious how kind of because I just want to figure out, if I'm at a certain point, I also want to be helpful to people, but I think I just don't. I don't know. I don't have the ego to kind of not anymore. I'm old to kind of need to appear smart. So I don't know. So if I look like an idiot all the time, that's fine too, as long as I'm learning, as long as I'm growing. So anyway, all right, let's actually get today. Maybe I'll talk more tomorrow instead, because my apologies for the first 13 minutes. So let's kind of take a look. 1657, determine if two strings are close. Two strings are close, or considered close if you attain you could swap two characters. You could do an infinite number of swaps, transform every occurrence of one existing character to another one, and then do the same with the other characters. Oh, so you swap them. It's not just combining. Okay. Okay, so let's think about what that means, right? So operation 1, especially because you can do it infinite number of times. So operation number 1 means that basically you only care about the character set, right? Because if you have the same number of characters for each character, then then that should be fine. And then here, now this is even saying that even that doesn't matter because, or the character part doesn't matter because they're not interchangeable, but they're swappable. So if you have two A's and one B on one side, two B's on one, and one A's on the other, you can swap them. So then now, so now the only thing that matters is the 2 and the 1, which is the frequency values. So that's basically the short idea, and I think that should be good, right? I mean, they also should be the same length, I guess, but that's probably implicit in the sum of the pairwise comparison. So maybe you could do something like get freq values, something like that for a string, and then you just return collections.counter. So this is very Pythonic. This puts in a counter and then dot values. I think I did the same thing yesterday, actually, right? So yeah. So then now maybe I also want to sort it just to make sure that it is in the same ordering. So then now this allows us to get the normalized frequency value because so then now 1 2 1 is equal to 2 1 1, or I guess in this case 1 1 2 or something like that, right? So yeah, then now we can do word 1 is equal to value is word 2. The only thing that's a little bit you have to worry a little bit about with this function is that this actually return an iterator, I think. I don't iterator or mapper or something like this. So so what I mean by that is you can't do it more than once. I think you have to just for safe purposes you have to convert it to a list, I think. But yeah, pretty straightforward, I think. Did I mess this up? Oh, did I mess this up? Why is this wrong? Oh, they have to be, okay, I misread operation 2 is that they have to be existing. Okay. I mean, I made a whole spiel in the beginning about, making mistakes and looking dumb, so here I am. Whoops. But, okay, yeah, I missed the existing part. Okay, so what does that mean, right? That means that and also this part, I think this part is still actually fine. But yeah, that means that you can only convert them when they both exist. That means that you cannot create new characters out of each other. So that means that actually, I guess I lied about the characters being not then. Then in this case, it's not just the values, it's this thing. Is that? Oh, how would I choose? Well, I guess I can just do it like this. So I could do this and also return it as a tuple, the keys, right? For the same reason, really, because basically we want the keys to, because the set of keys in both should be the same. Oh, actually, what was the one that? Oh, well, I mean, I know how to do it. A, B, and like C, C, D or something. I mean, that wasn't the one that was given, but it would be the same idea. Okay, let's give it a submit. Hopefully I read it correctly this time. 1384 day streak. And yeah, do I make the same mistake every time? I guess I do. Hey, look, I mean, yeah, okay. Well, at least you can say that I'm mostly consistent. But yeah, but this returns a tuple of the keys and the values, and this does a pairwise. Or is it pairwise? I guess it's more like a vector, but yeah, a zipped comparison, if you will. But yeah, man, I don't know. Man, all that talk about this problem looks easy, and I just make a silly mistake. But yeah, what is the complexity here? Well, this is going to be linear time plus alpha and alpha log alpha, where alpha is the size of the alphabet, or it's the upper bound, but of course it's also the number of unique keys, because this can only contain 26 characters, the same as what we talked about yesterday, really. But yeah, so that is O of n plus alpha log alpha time, and for space it's just O of alpha, because this has at most 26 characters and this has at most 26 values. Yeah, that's all I have for today. Hopefully I got the wrong answer out of the way for today and not do it during the contest. But yeah, that's all I have for today. Let me know what you think about this, about all the very long intro. But yeah, stay good, stay healthy, to good mental health. I'll see y'all later and take care. Bye bye.